Hi guys, welcome to the Chartered Vendor Podcast. That's where we discuss anything to do with business, be it entrepreneurship, marketing, sales, a lot of business stuff, because we want to encourage each other. The whole concept behind the Chartered Vendor is we want to build our own Africa. I believe that Africa can build its own economy. As I'm from Zimbabwe, we can also even build our country to be a better country. Our country has been struggling for the last 22 years. I think we have been having a bad economic environment. I believe this can be a thing of the past if we put entrepreneurs at the front, if we have trust in entrepreneurs. So today I just want to talk about how you can even start a business, probably starting with how I actually started M&J from scratch, which is one of the fastest growing consultants companies in the region. My vision is to help companies build timeless businesses to make sure that, yes, if I build someone's business, I'm also helping myself to build my own business. Because I'll give you an example. I think when I started way back in 2016, there's this other company called Freecon Solar. It's still there and it's now huge, having branches in Karoi, Bulawayo, Gweru, and a lot of areas. At this company, I think it started by paying me $20 consultants fees. But right now, they are now very far in terms of their growth. But anyway, let me start how I actually started M&J, because some people, yes, I wrote about it in my book, but I believe that if I tell my story and if I give it to someone, some people might get inspired. We can have maybe our next Strive Masiwa, our next Philip Matarenyika from the young people who are in Zimbabwe. So when I started off, starting is not easy, and let us be honest to each other. Starting a business is not a walk in the park. It's not something which is easy. The biggest lie is, for everyone who is employed right now, I think the biggest lie is when you're going to be out of, let's say you're no longer employed in another company, when you're going to start your own, you have sufficient time, you have a lot of money, you're going to enjoy your life. I think you must be ready for 10 years or even 15 years of suffering. My company, right now we're now getting into our 8th year, but I tell you, I haven't even gone for a holiday. I'm at work always. If it's going maybe to Vic Falls, you're actually going to work. If you're going out of the country, you're going to work. So I cannot say I have enjoyed being a business owner. Yes, I will provide an employment for a lot of people. Yes, my life is no longer where it was before. But I tell you, I haven't enjoyed. It's not yet uhuru. I haven't done enough for me to say I'm now there. So yes, I'll tell you how I started. So M&J was started not because I had a vision and I knew what I was doing. To be honest, it was a matter of surviving. So I was working for this other company called Zimbabwe Publishing House in Kampinza in Harare, Zimbabwe. So when I was working for this company as a bookkeeper, working there, then things started going very bad. I think we're coming to work only 2 weeks in a month. The other 2 weeks we're off. Sometimes we'd come back to work, there's no salary to talk about. The full salary which we're given, we started evaporating bit by bit. So that kind of opened my mind, and I noticed that it's no longer, I'm not supposed to be just chasing my comfort zone. I just left Spa, and Spa ended up not paying people because the business was struggling. I joined my publishing house. It was now also struggling. So I said, no, I think this is going to be a vicious cycle. For me to start looking for another job, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be very hard. But fortunately, yes, I wanted the option of looking for another job was still there. I still remember I even went for an interview at this other school. They wanted a BESA, but I think I performed terribly in that interview. I was asked questions and I was blank, and I wasn't given an opportunity to join that school. I still thank that school. I'm not forgetting the name of the school, but it's somewhere in Avondale. And I would like to thank someone who said, no, I think you cannot if we are not fit for this position. So when that happened, now it kind of drove me, it pushed me to say, no, I think let me try to look for other opportunities. I should remember I met this other commissioner of oaths. It's called Mr. Manyangarira. He does legal aid. Shout out to him. And this guy said, Jerry, do you know what? There's what is called consultants. And I'm like, how can I be a consultant? Because I wanted to commission my certificates. Those certificates, I wanted to commission my certificates. Then he got hold of my certificate and he said, you've got full CIS. My young brother, I want to tell you you're stupid. And I said, why are you insulting me, my big brother? Then he said, no, come tomorrow and I'll show you that you are stupid. So tomorrow I went to his office and he started explaining that with my certificate, I'm the one who is allowed to register companies. I can set up in a consultant's firm. All this time, whatever he was saying wasn't making a lot of sense, because I didn't even think of registering a company. I never, we did the full CIS. We'll address it some other day. I did the full CIS without understanding what I was doing, because I didn't even know the reason why I was doing CIS. What I just knew was if you do CIS, I'll end up being like Dr. Gideon Gono, who is at the RBZ. That's all what I know. I didn't know that you can register a company with CIS. I didn't know that it will open all this lot of opportunities. So yes, those who say no, maybe I hate school, I also went to school, and I believe that if it wasn't for my CIS certificate, I would also won't be here. But what I want to say to someone who's in school right now or in university, don't just bank on school. You need to work on your skills. You need to start pushing on your skills. You need to start learning other skills besides your certificate only. Anyway, so after Mr. Manyangarwa, he talked to me, I think that was in 2013. I went on even to start a photocopying company. I was partnering my friend Obet. That didn't go very well because, that's the time people were printing dollar for 50. And you'd print, make money for 7 days. Then the 8th day, your drum is actually no longer functioning. You're supposed to replace it. When you want to replace it, the cost of replacing that drum will take over all your revenue, probably including your profit which you had made. So it was kind of a vicious cycle. We're not making enough. Then I think we closed that photocopying shop. That's when I remembered again, and I said, let me go back to Mr. Manyangarwa. I went back to him. I said, my brother, please, things are now very, very difficult. I can no longer fend for my family. I still remember I got married in 2012. So when I got married, I took a loan from work, and we are now in 2013, 2014, trying to pay back that loan, and my salary wasn't enough, and we are now getting that salary. It was not coming in bits and pieces, so things got very, very, very bad, to the extent that I had to beg him, and he said, it's okay, my brother, I'll direct you to someone at the Registrar of Deeds, and I'll show you where the Registrar of Companies is. When I went there, I was fortunate to meet this other guy, but he didn't show me even how to. I didn't even know how I was going to register those companies until I met this other guy called Brian Zawakwi. I was with Brian at Denmark whilst I was studying my CIS. So Brian had finished the CIS and he was paid up. He was in good standing with the institute. So Brian was so cooperative, and he said, no, I'll teach you how to register companies. Just find a customer. So I got lucky. He gave me some other formats of how he was doing his memo. I still remember my first memo. Those who have registered companies don't know that there's a booklet which is called Memorandum and Articles of Association. My first memo, I think it was more than 20 pages because we didn't know what we were doing. But I ended up reducing it to about 6 pages because we now knew what we were doing later. So sometimes starting a business, you don't need to be ready and to say everything, all the robots are now green. That's when you are supposed to start. Sometimes just start with what we have. In this scenario, I had just a certificate, and I didn't know also how to use this certificate. I didn't have anyone to guide me. I was lucky to get Brian, who was also doing his photocopying business. He helped me, and I managed to successfully register my first company, which is called which is called KChem Private Limited. I'm happy. Kudakwashe Mapanga, shout out to you. He was the first guy who trusted me with registering his company, and I was still at ZPH. I registered this company. I just this other day I just woke up and I said I'm going to go to the register of company first. So at the door I met this guy who was just coming from Kwekwe, and he said no, he wants to register a company. I said no, I think I can assist you. We exchanged contacts. He gave me 200 US. It was a lot of money that time. I was so excited, so happy. I started off the process. I tell you, it took me more than 10 times. My papers were being rejected by the registrar of deeds until that company was registered sometime in 2014. When I registered that company, boom, it kind of opened avenues. So I'd going back to ZPH. At ZPH, I'd planned very well, and I said to myself, the first 50, I had 52 leave days because we're not going for leave. So I planned to say everyone was taking leave. Some people had done their 3 months, some people had done their 2 months. It was now my turn to take a leave day. So when I took my leave days, unfortunately, or rather fortunately, sometimes when you're planning, you tend to plan loudly. You're now sharing with your colleagues. So I think I shared information with my friend I was sharing office with and other colleagues. So I think they told the managers that this guy, yes, he's going for leave, but I don't think he wants to experiment something. So I don't think he's going to come back. So boom, I still remember exact on the 19th of November 2014, I received good news. That's when my daughter was born, and I'd gone to Mutare to check on my daughter, and I went there. Boom, I'm receiving a letter. You're supposed to come for a hearing on the 21st. So I went there. What's the story about? Why am I being given? Why am I being suspended? So I got suspended, and these guys, they said, I still remember my managing director actually said it was a fraudulent activity. I'll tell you what had happened. So we used to sign those which we call the commission schedules because we had salespeople. So salespeople would were receiving commissions. And when they were receiving commissions, there was an error, a slight error, which was done by the son of the business owner. So when he did that error, I was supposed to be the one authorizing that. So, it's now a year or 2 years authorizing the same document without any challenge, without any problem. I just underestimated the document and I just signed and authorized it. So that's where the fraudulent activity was coming from. So I got suspended, and when I was suspended, it was good for me because I had already paid for my office. Those who want to start businesses, guys, yes, it's a trap starting a business from home. I know some people would say, I'll start a business from home, I'll start business in the garage. Yes, I've heard a lot of companies which started from the garage, big companies like Amazon, that's the United States of America, and they started those businesses way back. Here in Africa, people, they hardly trust someone who's operating from home. They want an office. They trust so much. They trust a person with an office. So my advantage was I met Charlie. Charlie actually gave me an opportunity to share an office with him. Shout out to him. He said to me, my brother, I don't think $75 because the rent was about $150. So he said, I don't think you can manage to pay $75. You can just pay me $65. Boom, office was there. So when I was suspended, I just went straight into my office with my laptop. So I'd saved a bit of money. This is the laptop which started M&J. and fortunately the laptop is still there, but it's no longer in shape. But I just hope that if you find a charger, because when I last used it, it was still working. So this is the laptop. It's the one which started M&J. It wasn't for much. As you can see, this laptop, I bought it. It was an exchange, and I bought it for around $50 in 2014. So this is the office which started everything. This is the laptop which started everything. So boom, I got the laptop seated in my office. What can I do? So I started with people who knew me. No one knew that I can do consultants. So I started off with the companies I had worked, the colleagues who I was working with at ZPH, because they started their own bookshops. One of them is Tafara Mabika, your likes of, I think I had a lot of people, Miss Mavondo, and a lot of people who started their bookshops. Tafara Mabika is still in Kadoma up to now, Shalom Books. And the other people were in Gokwe. Gaili Bunu was in Gokwe. Shout out to you. So I started with those. Those are the ones I targeted, and I said I can do big bookkeeping on your behalf. I can do stock checks on your behalf. So boom, when I started off, I had about 5 customers. I still remember going to Mr. Marufu's bookshop in Chivu, and I was paid $25 to do a whole stock check and to balance his books. But he gave me $25. It was a lot of money to me. I still remember I went to Gokwe just for $100. I traveled all the way. My first time at Gokwe Center, I was hunting for $100. Fortunately, when I went there, the lady said she wanted to register for vendor number. So I had to come with $400, and I used the other $200 to register. Boom, I was already in business. So sometimes also the guys who wants to start business, please don't try to look, just utilize your power base. Utilize the people who you know already. For example, you want to start maybe selling clothes. Start with your relatives, start with your friends, start with your former workmates. For example, in this scenario, I started with my former workmates. I didn't have an advertising budget, and easy. It was tough, and you'll be thinking every day, am I going to be successful? Is this thing which I'm trying to do, is it going to make sense? And even my wife had to ask, to say, no, I think you're no longer working. What are we going to eat? How are we going to what are we going to do? Rentals needs to be paid, bills needs to be paid. We're struggling. I still remember one of my fellow, we're sharing premises with them, we're renting together, and we're always being laughed at. We're always being insulted. We're always, people were gossiping about us to say, these guys, they can't even pay 2 rooms. That's what was happening. So, boom, when I started off, being paid $25, being paid $100, being paid $40, it wasn't about setting targets. It was just about me trying to survive, or trying to survive in Harare. Things are tough, things are difficult. So this is the business card, one of my first business cards. I think it has got a globe here, and as you can see, I'd listed all the services. I don't know what was this. Was it a logo? I don't even know what I was trying to do in this scenario. And I think this business card, I had an odd one out. I'll try to look for it for the next episode, which I started off. As you can see, we didn't even have a logo. We didn't even have anything. But this didn't stop us from doing business. So as I'm saying, I would like also to guide people to start from somewhere rather than starting where we started. Because you know that some people, even just having a nice business card or a professional business card, we do not do that. Because we're amateurs, we're just starting, we're not professionals. As you can see, there are services listed. I thought that listing services will make customers buy, or clients believe in us more. I even listed that public accountants, etc., trying to sanitize it was more like a flyer, not a business card. So this is how we started. You start from somewhere. So I think in our next episode, we're going to talk about, yes, I started off with just a laptop. I started off with just rentals, which I paid for $65, a laptop which I got from a friend for just $50, but business was already booming. I've heard many people saying, how can I start my own business with $1,000? How can I start my own business with $3,000? That's a lot of money, my brother, my sister. You can start from somewhere. So what we just need is an idea. So I will narrate further what happened when I set out the first time in that office. Start going to Mvuma, start going to Chivu, start going to Gokwe, Marondera. I was traveling all over the place without a car. You'd walk sometimes from those who know, from city center to Semi-Levi, trying to do business. And I was alone by that time when you're starting. So in the next episode, we're going to see what happened. How did M&J grow? How did I manage to recruit? When did I think of recruitment? How did even I think of recruitment? How was I marketing? How was I doing the sales? So tune into this podcast. You're going to see, you're going to hear, if you're on YouTube, you're going to see and hear the story of the chartered vendor and how it can also inspire the people in Africa to start their business from somewhere without anything. So guys, I love you guys. Please don't forget to subscribe the YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow our podcast. Don't forget to like my Facebook page, to follow me on Instagram. On Twitter is Jeremy Yazungu. On TikTok, let us enjoy the conversation. Thank you so much. Until next time.